It's no surprise that after the success of 13 Sentinels, Vanillaware continues to attempt to blow people out of the water with their games. While they may get a little in over their head, the developers at Vanillaware are definitely some of the most passionate in the industry. So can they once again prove that they can make great games with Unicorn Overlord? This game's development is kind of insane. First off, you have the fact that it was in development for 10 years. Something that is much more common now, but still most games do not spend remotely that long in development at all. Then you compound that with the fact that the company ran out of money while developing. Not to mention that this is not the first time this has happened either. By all accounts, this game should not have made it into our hands. But here we are today, and Unicorn Overlord is a real game that has fully released.
Oh, my head. What am I doing here?
And if you didn't see my first impressions video, that's fine. But basically I thought that the combat was super complex and very interesting, but I felt like the demo didn't really give me enough time to get a grasp on all of the mechanics. I thought the visuals were pretty good. It has that signature Vanillaware touch, as well as other overworld sprites to convey the feel of older tactics fantasy games. And I thought that the story was fine. Serviceable, I suppose. And after playing the full game, I think I severely underutilized the tools given to me. If you're someone like me and you don't play a lot of tactical RPGs, you're in for a ride, because this system is complex. Beyond just the basics, the game feeds you with all kinds of other mechanics and the tools that you can use to shape your team. The game feeds you with the ability to change your character's stat growths, which allows you to specialize them. On top of that, there are over 50 characters, and a majority of them function differently, even if their classes do seem similar. And customization is all well and good, but they do actually ease up on it a little bit by only allowing each character to have a set path on their classes. So you're not going to have the option to promote your main character to multiple different classes. They are going to go from one class to another. And you might say, well, I would have liked it if I could customize the classes and make my teams how I want to. And I can understand that, but in my opinion, if classes were customizable, it would be another layer to this already super complex tactical RPG. This actually opens the door to a little bit more difficulty and more strategic planning in combat, because you're limited by what the game gives you. Of course, you can always hire more characters, but if you want to use the characters with names and with character development, then you're going to be limited by what's given to you. Correcting myself from my first impressions a little bit, you can only have a maximum of 5 characters per unit, not 6. But that aside, positioning really does matter, both in and out of combat. Managing your stamina is also incredibly important. If you position your characters properly, you can actually make use of your characters with no stamina as well. But my whole point is essentially that this game offers a myriad of customization options for combat. And there are things I really didn't even use, like the custom tactics that you can set for each move a character has, is something I just didn't feel like I had to wrap my head around. And if you do use it, I'm sure the game becomes a lot easier.
Weird to think he's back on the mainland now. Finally making that Liberation Army thing a reality, huh?
The experience overall was pretty overwhelming. There's so much you can customize that at some point I just kind of stopped customizing my units, which resulted in a lot of issues with my units being underpowered. On top of that, there's also exploring the map, collecting resources, and rebuilding towns. There's so much in this game. There are also reports between your characters, which are basically just support conversations, and you can gain additional report rank by putting characters in the same unit, doing character-specific side missions, and eating meals together in the tavern. But a lot of these reports offer insight to the characters that you wouldn't get otherwise from the main story. If you felt like you've been playing a lot of games that are lacking in content recently, this game is loaded up ad nauseum. As I've said, it's overwhelming for me, and whether that's a good or a bad thing is really up to you.
Enlighten me, Valmor. To what end do you seek to usurp my throne? You seek to plunge the continent into war. Severus need not suffer your delusions.
There is one area I feel like the game falters a little bit. It's the story. Now, I don't think it's bad, Again, like I said, it's generally serviceable. It's not devoid of any kind of soul, but the overall plot ranges from basic to almost non-existent. There are parts of the game where you are just going to be doing gameplay, and the actual plot doesn't even feel like it really matters that much. This, of course, is mostly the side story content. I never felt lost with the story, and it's not like it's poorly written, but it essentially exists to give you a general path forward. As you liberate areas from Zenoira's rule, you'll be gaining new companions, and yes, if the option to spare someone comes up, I personally think you should always spare them. A new ally is typically worth way more than any resources that could be offered, and sometimes sparing characters will lead you to re-encounter them again in the future. And on top of that, you may also get a chance to recruit additional characters as well. What I'm saying is, just spare everyone. I mean, you can always hire units, but then you lose the option to get reports. It's really, for me, it's a no-brainer, because I want as many characters as I can possibly have that actually have names and faces that I can't customize. But barring all that, the story is generally straightforward, and you shouldn't look forward to any huge twists. This is not 13 Sentinels. The time spent on development here was definitely more aimed towards the gameplay and creating their
The rebirth of tactical fantasy RPGs.
Genuinely, this game deserves far more praise than I can give it. I don't know how tactical RPG fans are feeling about this, but I really hope that they like it. This is another hard hitter in Vanillaware's catalog, and I hope this studio continues to succeed without losing their creative vision. And I know that there's a lot here that feels like I'm leaving unsaid. And the truth of the matter is that I would love to go more in depth with this review, but there just is so much that I don't feel like I have the words to say. If I had to use a word to describe this game, for me, it's speechless, because I'm blown away by this game. I don't know if it's going to be my favorite game of the year or anything like that, but it's certainly a fantastic tactical RPG. But anyways, why don't you let me know what you think of Unicorn Overlord in the comments below. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things JRPG related. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Just a little magic.
Burn!